And all who believed were together and had all things in common. And they were selling their possessions and belongings and distributing the proceeds to all, as any had need. This aspect of the church's life in its unfolding story has been capitalized on by all kinds of people and has been pressed to various ends. For example, some people I remember in the 60s used to tell me that this was an expression of communism, that Christianity embraced a form of strident socialism. And of course, there is no question that what is taking place here is dramatic in its impact. That what has happened, though, is that these people have had their lives so reoriented by discovering who Jesus is and why he came, that they have now discovered that in being baptized, they have made a simple declaration: Jesus is Lord. In other words, I have no freedom to believe anything other than he taught, or to behave in any other way than he demands. And so if he is Lord of all, then he's Lord of all. And that means that the things that have been entrusted to me are not simply possessions to use in selfish ends, but they are provisions that I can share with others as need and opportunity arises. And I think that it must have been a dramatic impact on the community at the time. Much smaller than the world in which most of us live. And so the drama of it all would be seen, would be very easy to detect. And it was one of the ways in which the church was able to say, Jesus has invaded my life and changed everything. And I used to be pretty selfish. In fact, I was very selfish. And I've discovered that Jesus has freed up my pocketbook, that Jesus has freed up my sort of stranglehold on things, that if I have possessions that can be used in another way, I'm glad to do it. And by the time Paul is writing his letters, for example, at one point in 1 Corinthians, he says, who made you? And what do you have that you did not receive? Well, the answer is, I don't have anything that I did not receive. So in other words, the person who says, well, I'm a self-made man and I work jolly hard and I get to keep it all. No, not if you're a Christian. You may have worked jolly hard, but you don't get to keep it all. No, why not? Well, because we're committed to the apostles' teaching, to supporting the church, to sharing in its life, and to participating with those who are in need. Actually, when he writes to the Thessalonians, Paul says, aspire to live quietly, to mind your own affairs, to work with your hands, as we instructed you, so that you may walk properly before outsiders and be dependent on no one. This is a much bigger subject than we can get into right now. But the whole foundational element of it is that one of the distinctive marks of the people of God under the rule of God is a genuine spirit of mutual care. And to that end, we want to pray that our local congregations will bear testimony to that. Again, as I usually say, you can follow up on this just with your Bible, actually. But if anything at Truth for Life is helpful, let me commend that to you as well.